Hello everybody. Welcome to the channel if you are new, and welcome back if you were already a subscriber. In today's video, I am going to be doing a little bit of planner catch up and some memory keeping. This is all going to center around a trip that I took with my mom in September. As you can see from the day that I'm starting on, it did start on September 13th. So I really wanted to do a different style of video to kind of document this, just to kind of give it a shot and see what way I really wanted to document not just this trip, but my annual October Halloween trip. So this was kind of like the guinea pig, as it were. So what I decided to do was to film kind of the post-trip planning. So typically during a trip, I don't plan too much before a trip in terms of like putting it in the planner, because I have done that in the past and it has bitten me in the ass and completely changed plans. So I don't do anything until it's done when it comes to a trip mode, just not to jinx it, which sounds really weird, but it happens more times than I can count, or has happened more times than I can count, that I've written something down like that and then it's all gone to hell in a handbasket. So I didn't want that to happen. And so I decided that I would just use the space. And I often do this on like weekends where I'm going to be at Jeff's or we're traveling or something like that. I kind of do it after the trip. So this is not really abnormal. It's just bringing in the other planners that's going to be really kind of cool to see how I documented in all three for you guys. I thought that would be something really different that I haven't given you. So I'm really excited about this video. So first things first, this is my Kokuyo Jibun Techo A5 Slim. So it's just a touch smaller than a Hobonichi cousin is. And really you don't notice it too much. It just takes just a smidge off like each bar basically. So there's not really a big difference, but it is noticeable from a kit perspective, just FYI. And you'll be able to see that by the time I get to the Thursday bar, because I do end up using a like box sticker from a Coffee Monster Co. kit, and it is a little bit bigger than the space, obviously. But first of all, let's just start with Wednesday. So for Wednesday, I absolutely love when I do like my little geotags, and I usually try to do those on days, I can't talk. I usually try to do those on days where I'm going to be traveling a good bit or driving to a couple different locations for the day, if there's like a bunch of different errands to run or something like that. So after writing down like a couple quick tasks like recycling, tidying the apartment, watering the plants, all those basic things you kind of need to hit before you walk out of the door, I wanted to document what I was watching, because I did wake up before my mom, and she, while she was sleeping in, I was packing up the last of my things and doing my nails so as not to wake her. But as far as the Tombos I used, for my brown, I used 992. It's one of my absolute favorites. I used 312 for the geotags. And then you'll see me on Sunday use N95. Yeah, I almost wanted to invert that, so I had to look at it again for my little YouTube icon. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Otherwise, all the stickers that you see are going to come from Coffee Monster Co. And just to note, the washi at the top is the biome washi, but it's cut up into sections. So obviously the biome washi has 4 biomes on it. So I specifically cut it so it looked like it was all one biome, and it matches the Into the Woods kit. So those are all of your details that you need to know about product. And we're kind of going to go back and forth between product and what was happening. So just bear with me, hold on for the ride, get a beverage. We're here for a bit. But anyways, Wednesday was kind of travel day. It was a hot mess. It was a hot mess, absolute mess. Hot mess. And just for the record too, before I get really in depth, as far as the other journals go, I am only going to document the 13th through the 16th in the Hobonichi 5-year and the A6 on camera, because I documented the 17th differently in both of them. already, so I really it didn't need to be in the video. So back to what was happening. So Wednesday was our travel day. Woke up before Mom, did a couple things, and then I was kind of dragging my feet a bit because I was hoping that the mail was going to get there before I left, and it did not. I was just expecting some washi from No White Space, which was just like an impulse purchase, but I was hoping to see it before I left, because I was going to obviously be gone a few days. And Jeff was going to watch the house, so he was perfectly capable of going to get my mail. But I just kind of wanted to open it myself. I know all you little stationary peeps out there know how that goes. Travel was a bitch and a half. So getting out of Atlanta was a hot mess. There was like a stalled vehicle, I think, and it really clogged up everything around like Kennesaw, Marietta area getting out of town, which if you're from here, you know. But we had a time getting out, even though it was a Wednesday, it was after work was already in session. There was no reason for that to be happening. It was a mess. Finally get out of town. And I kind of have the moment where I'm like, gosh, the GPS seems to be saying that we're going to be there a lot sooner than we should be. It's because my mother, God love her, just plugged in Chattanooga to the GPS. Were we going to Chattanooga? No. We were going to Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge. What the actual F? Now, in all fairness, you do have to go through Chattanooga, but it basically just like, we maybe could have gotten there faster. We maybe could have avoided some things like major cities and stuff. I was over it at that point already. I was like, wow, okay. And my mother was dead set on getting to this big, when I say big, I mean big. Buc-ee's is a huge deal here. There's only 2 in all of Georgia. If you don't know, you don't need to know. Sweet Jesus, don't get involved. Really, it's just a very large gas station at its core. That's really what it is. But they have food. They have, and I'm not talking about just like bag chips. Like, we're talking about like a full-on bakery. Like, there's full-on barbecue happening. They do breakfast in the mornings. Like, it's almost like a store involved with a gas station, involved with like, I would say the closest thing you could probably compare it to is maybe like some of the service plazas outside of Orlando, if you guys have ever been to one of those, but it's huge. Buc-ee's are really big in Texas too. And up until this particular Buc-ee's was built in Tennessee, it was the largest one was in Texas. But my mom was all excited about, she wanted to go to the biggest Buc-ee's because it wasn't that far from Pigeon Forge, which it wasn't. It was about 45 minutes. 45 minutes north and out of the way, but 45 minutes nonetheless. So she was hot to trot about it. And so I put in the location to go there. And lo and behold, between the traffic and everything, we're really not going to have time to get there, eat, and get up the mountain before dark. Now, that is important to note through this entire adventure because where we were staying is, I call it Mount Crumpet. If you've watched The Grinch, then you get it. But, like, the Grinch lives at the top of Mount Crumpet, and Mount Crumpet is gangly and steep, and that is exactly how best to describe this mountain. And I knew I wanted to at least get her up there the first time in the daylight, and then if she felt comfortable and could do it after dark beyond that, that was fine. But for the first time up there, we needed in the daylight. And so we're in the process of traveling, and we did end up stopping at the Buc-ee's in Calhoun, mainly because we needed to pee and get gas. So it all kind of worked out to at least go to one of them. But she went a little crazy. She got fudge. She did the whole thing. Got lots of beaver chips, which are basically like kettle chips that are made fresh. They're really good. I'm not negating that. But she got too many. And she was like putting them in Tupperwares. It was getting a little crazy. We get we finally get to Gatlinburg and we park, and parking is $20 downtown. It was maybe $8 when Jeff and I were there 2.5 years ago. So I was like, what the F? Okay. And then we were going to explore a little bit. Well, we don't have time to do that because the sun is getting ready to go down and we've got to get up this mountain. So we ate dinner, and it was like, we were there long enough to do dinner, not $20 worth of parking. So that was aggravating. But we finally got up there, and the view was just as amazing as I remember. It was totally worth it. It's important to remember that I chose to stay in this particular Airbnb because it was the same Airbnb I had stayed in when I turned 30. And the reason for the trip was it would have been my sister's 30th birthday. My sister passed away when she was 13, and so typically on a bigger birthday, my mom and I do try to do something that is notable or, just special to us. And we had been wanting to go to Gatlinburg together for a while because Gatlinburg was actually the last trip the three of us took as a group. And I think I was probably 14 when that happened. So that would have made my sister probably about 12. I think that's accurate if memory serves. I might have been 15. I want to say I was 14 though. But all in all, it all made sense in the grand scheme of things to go to Gatlinburg, to stay in the same Airbnb. Like, there were lots of reasons why things happened the way they did. And I had planned it that way, and we'll get into that as we go through the video. So I got in, and what I thought was really interesting is, even though I was really excited to finally be there and I was already exhausted and it was just travel day, one thing I did not expect was that I would feel sad and miss Jeffrey, because I got in the door and I am looking at this bed, and the last time I was in that bed, I was 30 years old. I had just turned 30 years old, and I was with Jeff, and it just all came back so much harder than I expected. So I was missing my sister, I was nostalgic and missing Jeff, and I was frustrated, and I was tired from a really rough travel day. It was just like, it was automatically kind of setting the tone for a long couple days. And I'll be honest that, I was really self-aware. Sorry, my cat and I are also having a difference of opinion of what journal she can lay on while I talk about them. But essentially, I knew it was going to be rough. I just didn't necessarily bargain for extra, and I was already getting extra on day one. But after that, we just kind of settled in and went to bed. So that was the end of the 13th. So on the 14th, and again, remember, we're going through the Kokuyo, then I'm going to start documenting in the Hobonichi A6 AVAC that I have, and then I'm going to document in the 5-year so that we can kind of go through each level of how I document. So this sounds like a good place to start since you're going to get to see both pages. I'll talk about product really quick before we dive into Thursday. It just seems applicable. So on the 13th, I really just journaled out a bunch of stuff and then used some Smooth Shop stickers. I think her shop is still closed while she's on maternity leave. I'm not sure that she's reopened it or what that situation is. I haven't looked in a while, but I'll at least put the link down below so that whenever, if ever, it is active, you're able to get on there. And then on the 14th, I use all 3 of those tombos I mentioned earlier to hand letter some words and then do like a dash border around them. And then I use 2 boxes from the TCMC mini kit for Into the Woods. And then I use a really cute emoji that's like wined out, and we'll talk about that, obviously, because we're going to get into Thursday now. So that's going to cover those 2 days, and then I'll pause and I'll talk about more product when I get there. Another thing I want to talk about with the differences of how I document is in a planner view, obviously, I can only do little snippets. Whereas when I get into the A6, I can kind of build out a couple of things. So I talked a lot about the traffic. And then I, at the very end, just kind of mentioned about the Jeff thing and kind of being sad and missing him because it just felt weird to be there without him. And then obviously on the next page, I'll build out like talking about the hike, which we're going to talk about in a second. And then a really cool experience where I got to meet a fellow TCMC person in the wild. It was crazy. And I also saw a bear. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself. So essentially in an A6, I start to build out a couple things. I might have a longer task list that's more detailed and has everything instead of just the like top things I want to get done like my planner would. And then obviously when we get to the 5-year, I'm going to get either really general or I'm going to get really granular. Meaning I'm either going to be like, these are all the things that happened, or I'm going to get like pinpoint and dive in on one particular thing and emotion. So it just kind of gets the space that I have changes with each platform, and how I use that space obviously is going to change. So you'll get to see a lot of different examples of that as we go through this video. And that was another reason I really wanted to do this video. So getting into Thursday. So we got up and then I got to watch the sunrise on the patio. Or balcony. I absolutely love the view. I absolutely love being in that condo and I cannot wait to go back again. Jeff and I are already talking about that we need to go there. And I think it'll make it extra special too, because now like I have a lot of memories there, not just, with Jeff and I, but with my mom. So I love keeping an Airbnb and not changing them. But that is definitely one of my favorite places that I've ever stayed, even though the 8-minute drive up the mountain will make you, or down the mountain for that matter, will make you question the whole thing and pray to the universe. It's just a very sketch drive. So Thursday, I got some time to myself before we packed up and went to hike Mount LeConte. So I actually hiked the full mountain the day before I turned 30. That's why we went. I did not expect my mother to hike the whole mountain because round trip, it's like a 10 mile hike round trip. And I knew she could not do that, but I was hoping to at least get us to the cliff. And we only made it to the cave. If you ever hiked LeConte, then you kind of know what I'm talking about, but there's this like really cool cave that you go up a bunch of stairs through. And then the cliff is really cool because if it's rained or something, sometimes there's like a waterfall type of effect over the cliff face, which is really pretty. And it's like super sandy and chill. So it's a great place to like stop and eat a snack or journal a little bit or just take a breather. So it's really quite lovely. I really struggled with the fact that those did not like fit flush to each other. So I had to leave a little bit of space so that it didn't look hella awkward. But I do love how this page turned out, and I do feel like my hand lettering looked really nice on this spread. And I can't say that for all of the spreads, but it looked so good, and I was so happy with it. And all I can ever tell people is just practice. Just practice. I know that's annoying, but even with all the practice in the world, you'll have good days and bad days with hand lettering, just like anything else. But we hiked LeConte for a little bit. Unfortunately, because we got there late, we had to park about a mile from the trailhead. So that added a little bit. So overall, Mom did about 5 miles, which is really good, actually. It would have been another 2 miles included in the route if we had gone to the cliff, and I knew she was really struggling where we already were, so I opted to hike us out, and we just decided that we would go down to Gatlinburg and take the trolley this time because it's like $1 to ride the trolley, and it's at the bottom of the mountain basically. It was like 8 minutes from our condo, so it made the most sense. And that's what we ended up doing. But what was really cool is on the way to the Welcome Center in Gatlinburg, which is where we were taking the trolley from, we saw a baby bear in the wild. I'm not joking. I've seen turkeys, and that was really funny because we did see some turkeys right before that, and then we thought it was like a stalled car or truck, and then a truck ahead of us stopped to do the whole neighborly, hey, do you guys need help? Are you okay thing? And that was when the stalled car, quote unquote, stuck their hand out the window, and then the truck who had stopped stuck their hand out the window, and they're all pointing, and that's when we look over and we see this baby bear like wrecking a tree, and my mom and I are like so excited, but at the same time going, because bears don't typically just have one baby, and bears also don't typically let their baby bears wander aimlessly. And this was not like a newborn or anything, but this was baby enough that mama is somewhere looking at all of us like we are like just chicken nuggets on a platter, wondering where the dipping sauce is. And I'm like, okay, let's go. So we leave, and we got to the trolley, and I got the chance to talk to Jeff for a little bit. And that reminds me, I kind of need to go back and put some things in the journal on the side. It might have to go on the right side. But there's just some really great one-line quotes that came out of that. But yeah. And Banks is making a guest appearance in this video because she has missed me very much. And she's very attached to not leaving my side and making quite a fuss if I do. So sorry, we're getting a little kitty action in this video. So we went down to Gatlinburg with the trolley, and the very first place that we stopped was Gatlinburg Winery. And it's like literally right there when you get off the trolley at the very, like right as you enter into downtown. And I walked in and I was like, weren't you guys somewhere else? And she's like, yeah, there's actually a bigger sister. We're like the baby sister, and the big one is down the strip. And so we get to talking, and she hands me the piece of paper where you're gonna, rate the wines as you drink them. And we opted to go ahead and try them all. They give them to you in these like tiny communion cups, so you're not getting sloshed or anything. You're literally tasting. And I asked for another one because I scrapbook and I journal. And she was like, oh, I do too. And I thought that was really cute. So we start talking about, memory keeping. And then she's like, oh, I have this Hobonichi and that Hobonichi. And I'm like, so obviously I'm geeking out. My mother is rolling her eyes because even though she crafts minimally, she is definitely not a planner or a journaler like I am. So we're kind of gabbing about what planners we have, what we're talking about for 2024 lineups. And we're probably about halfway through the tasting at this point. And all of a sudden she goes, oh, do you know Coffee Monster Co.? Oh my God, y'all. The squeal that emitted from me was ungodly. I was so excited, and she was so freaking sweet, and we just nerded out. It was fantastic. So we talked about like the new releases, and we talked about the fact that we were both in the first 800 orders, which was so cool. Like, what a crazy, just complete fluke that I would meet this person. So that was really exciting. I fell in love with this I think it's pumpkin pie or pumpkin spice wine that they had. Here's the thing, guys. I am not a pumpkin spice gal. I never really have been. I'm a little bit more into it this year, but not in the sense of like I'm going to Starbucks and getting it, but more in the sense of like I'm trying some of the pumpkin spice things and not hating them. That's really where I'm at. I was always a salted caramel girl, and I'm really just gotten to the point where that's just a little bit too sweet for me. So I think that's maybe why the pumpkin spice and I are getting along. But the kicker of the pumpkin spice wine was not the wine room temp / cold. It was, oh my God, warmed up. She had it in this literal crock pot, warm. And you guys, it is like drinking cider. You do not know, and I'm not talking about like alcoholic cider. It tastes like cider from like a roadside, like really good, solid apple place. Oh my God, it was so good and sinful. It's so dangerous. My mom and I ended up buying 3 bottles because there was like a deal, and we decided that we would drink one at Christmas and then each of us got a bottle. And I am straight up hoarding mine. And I don't know what I'm going to do when I run out. If I'm going to be able to order them, I don't know. I'm going to have to investigate that. But I'm so excited to bust that thing open. I have a lot of wine centered around Halloween, so I'll be curious to see when that actually gets inhaled as well. So that kicked it off really well. And then we just kind of like wandered up that side of the street, and then we ended up at Old Smoky. And again, we're chasing sunlight, so we don't have like a ton of time to be wandering and playing, but we're just trying to make the best use of our time as we can and explore as much as we can. So we end up at Old Smoky, and I had been kind of like flirting with this like low grade headache for a good chunk of the day, and then the woods kind of amped it up because it was sinus related. And we ended up at Old Smoky, and we do the moonshine tasting, and everything's going really well until Blue Flame, which is like basically straight rubbing alcohol. Like, it is so like high in content. It's ridiculous. And I took the sample and like knocked my head back when I did it. Obviously, like, you tilt your head back, and I tilted my head back. When I put my head back up, I felt like my headache that was like a manageable 4 legitimately went to a 12 on a scale of 1 to 10. It shot through my eyeballs and my head, and I immediately was freaking out. And I asked my mom if she had anything, and she did, and she gave that to me. And because she has really bad sinus headaches too. And we start meandering back down the mountain because I literally think my head is going to explode. We need to get on this trolley and we need to get back. And then we got back to the room, and my headache still didn't feel better. So she gave me another dose of it, which was completely fine. But it didn't work. I went to bed right then and there, like on top of the covers and everything, like still gross from the hike. That's so gross, but I legitimately could not get up. I could not get up. And that was terrible. It was the most excruciating headache I think I've had in a very long time. I would say I haven't had a headache that bad since I got one during COVID. I've gotten them both times I've had COVID, just like once during the COVID experience of, each COVID batch had one solid earth-shattering headache. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say. So finally, I get up at, the hour of 3 a.m. 3 a.m. and the headache was still there, you guys. So at this point, I take my normal go-to sinus med, which is what I should have done all along when we got back to the room, but I didn't. And I wanted to try her miracle headache medicine that, fun fact, was not a miracle headache medicine. I also know I was going to pause to talk about product. So the Tombow that I use to do all of the red handwriting is 885, and then the rest of it I'm just using my normal pen. As far as my stencil goes, I got it from, I think, Allie Brown at one point. I know she has reopened her shop. I don't think this is available on there, but you can search Amazon for tons of stencils. The butterfly stickers are from Little Creative Life on Etsy, which is my bestie Tay. And Dollywood is the perfect place for butterflies. So naturally had to use super cute butterfly stickers. And she also loves Dollywood as well. She has been. So I thought that was most appropriate. The yellow I'm using is 993. And then I'm going to go on to use a purple of 685. And then I used the blue, it's the dual point Tombow. You're going to see me pull out the case here in a second. It doesn't have a name, but it's just that blue shade in the classic Tombow marker pack. I don't even know what the name of the marker pack is. It's over on my desk, and I don't want to make a whole lot of fuss getting up. But I'll pop it down in the comments, like they're like dual-ended markers. They're the Brights set, Tombow Brights. And one is like super fine point, and the other one is this side, which is more like a marker tip. But they're both pretty fine point. And those are the colors that are in the logo. It's the red, and then it's that yellow and the purple and the blue. So it made sense. Not on camera, but I did eventually go back and kind of like do kind of like a doodle in the 30 design to kind of look a little bit like a butterfly wing / floral effect. I think it turned out really pretty. I just did it off camera while everything was like loading and exporting, just to throw a little bit of detail into the page. And then I do end up using my Tombow, not the broad, but the fine tip black brush pen, Furunosuke. I don't care for that one. I was digging all over creation for my soft tip, and I couldn't find it. I ended up finding it in between like one of the breaks I took to rest my hands. And I typically use that one and love it. And then obviously the big sticker came from Buc-ee's, when we met Bucky, dear God. And then the other 2 stickers are from Coffee Monster Co. There's like a takeaway one and then a cute coffee one. But I will get back to journaling, and I will get back to explaining the rest of the day. So, woke up at 3 a.m. on Friday, took my med, and then I did not want to go back to sleep. I just wanted to go ahead and get ready, because I was really hoping that we could go get coffee at Black Rifle Coffee Co. at Mountain Mile is what it's called. It's like a little shopping center. And they also had a Cinnaholics, which has these like really wild cinnamon buns. And they have one of them in Duluth, which is over on my mom's side of town. But you know, a cinnamon bun and a cup of coffee sounded like a really solid breakfast option for a theme park day. But by the time we got to the trolley, we realized that we really didn't have enough time to go to breakfast and get to the theme park at a decent hour. So we opted to just head straight to the theme park, which ended up being really good because we were there when they opened. It was a little wild because during this particular weekend, it was also Rod Run, which is a really huge car show weekend. And you would think that Dollywood would be packed, but really it was all like concentrated to Pigeon Forge proper. So the theme park was actually really, really not crowded at all. We walked on to almost everything. I think we never waited more than 10 minutes if we waited at all. So we got to do every single ride that we wanted to do. I actually got to ride my first roller coaster that I ever rode again, which was so wonderful. I 10 out of 10, if you ever go to Dollywood, go get the strawberry shortcake. I think it's at Front Porch Cafe, and go get the cinnamon bread. There's 2 different places to get it, but it is like a giant cinnamon roll strudel thing. Oh my God. You will eat the whole pan there. Whether you intended to or not is irrelevant. You will eat the whole pan, guys. Whole thing. It was fan-freaking-tastic. I was obviously starving, and that's one thing that I really want to note through this whole trip is the fact that my mom really doesn't eat a lot. And even after the hike, I think all I got her to eat really, she ate a very large Rice Krispie treat on the hike, and then I got her to eat like 1 chicken tender and some fries. She really doesn't eat that much, which is such a pain for me because I'm such a huge foodie. So I was struggling and I was starving because every time I thought we were going to eat, we didn't, or we were out of time. So it was really like a logistical problem of thinking I was going to get to eat at X place and then not having time to get there. Thankfully, I had made myself a breakfast sandwich the morning of the hike. And then we had some chicken tenders while we walked downtown. So like I had eaten a little bit, but even my mom cracked me up when she was like, "Oh, well, you really didn't eat much today. And I was like, my eyes just bugged out of my head. Like, you didn't eat anything. It was hilarious, but not really funny. So I was very hungry, ate a lot of cinnamon bread. And then we did have a bit of an argument, not argument. There was a little bit of confusion as to where to sprinkle some of my sister's ashes. My sister was cremated, and we have taken her many places. Mom has taken her to the Bahamas. We've taken her to Disney. She's been around in the best kind of way. And my mom was like, wanted very much to sprinkle her at or on the roller coaster that was my first roller coaster, which had happened the trip previous. And I was like, what do you want me to do? It's not like we're in the back of the coaster. Like, there's cameras everywhere, I'm sure, on property. The last thing I want to do is end up like incarcerated because we have sprinkled ashes on a roller coaster, or the person behind me is going to get a face full of ashes. If you guys are at all comedic, you will understand the scene of this and how it is literally like something you would expect from like Schitt's Creek or whatever happening. And I'm like, all under our breath, like, I cannot do this right now. Like, this is not a good time, place. Oh my God, it was a whole thing. We ultimately settled for something that was very good, so it was totally fine, but that did take a lot of rigmaroling. As far as product on this page, you're going to see on the right-hand side the washi that I was supposed to get before I left, but obviously I swatched when I got back, so super cute washi. The washi on the left is from One Canoe 2, and it's just been in my stash for a while, and the stickers are from One Canoe 2 as well. They're just from a sticker book that I have in my stash. So that covers product on this page. But essentially, we did end up finding a good place, and then we headed back from Dollywood, and I made spaghetti, and we took showers, and we started to pack up and kind of get ready, and we were watching Wednesday on Netflix while we were there, so it was just a really low-key night. It had been 2 very full days. Obviously, I'd been up for 6 million hours, so I was kind of starting to run on low battery. And we were just kind of like in pack up and wrap up mode at that point. Saturday, we got up and we did end up going to Mountain Mile. Some funny things to note about Saturday was that apparently a mama bear was wandering around the property and had already broken into 2 of the trash cans. So they were kind of telling everybody to just be alert. And she was being super social. Like, she gave 0 fucks that there were people there, you know, people had already seen her and just been told to kind of avoid her. But it's kind of wild to think about all the bear action we got or were very close to, because it's something you see a lot of signs about, but you don't really take quite seriously enough until you run up on the situation. So that was definitely eye-opening. And then my mom was like, oh, like trying to stick around and see. And I was like, I don't need to see the wild bear. I'm good. Like, I am so good. I do not need to stalk the bear. I don't want to end up on the news because he ate me as a chicken tender. No, thank you. Like, she's already breaking into trash cans, like, with latches on them that are very well secured because there are bears in the area and bear activity is common. So I was like, no, I'm good. I'm so good. But we eventually packed it up and went over to Magic Mile, which is where the coffee place was that I had been trying to get to. So at home, Jeff and I drink Black Rifle Coffee Co. It is a very veteran-friendly coffee company, and it is freaking delicious. So if you're looking for some coffees to try, check them out. You can also get K-Cups and bag coffees in most grocery stores, including, not limited to, Walmart. I like getting them from Walmart because I can get, like, the big box and not have to refill. I've also, if you have, like, the Walmart supermarkets, which are a little bit smaller, you can get, like, the smaller boxes that have like a 12 count if you don't want to commit to like a big box. Just all the thoughts. I'll put that down in the comments below too. But I really wanted to get Jeff a bag of coffee and a sticker for his cooler. Yes, love the fact that my man also loves stickers, but just different stickers. So I wanted to get him something nice for watching Kitty, because not only was he going to watch her for Gatlinburg, he was going to watch her for the Orlando trip, and I was also going to drive him to his concert when I got back. So we had worked out all the payment plan details of watching the cat, but I thought it would be really nice, and so I was happy that we finally made it, and it was on the way to the big Buc-ee's, so it really wasn't out of the way, and I had been trying to get there the whole trip and kind of being thwarted because my mom couldn't get her ass in gear, so it was really nice to finally get there. And then we did some shopping at Beal's. Really, we didn't do shopping. We just looked, and we just kind of wandered around. I was getting really frustrated by this point too. I mean, obviously I feel like that's noted, but my mom and I are just really different travelers, and I'm very get up at the butt crack of dawn and get going, and then I want to be back to the room pretty early, and my mom is sleeping, let's get a late start, and then let's still get back early. So there was really just like different timelines going on. But this page is documenting, not Binks walking around, but she is. This is documenting the 14th, which was the day that we hiked. We went and did the tasting in Gatlinburg, and we saw some bears. I used the Mountains and Meadow washi. I have like a tiny sample. And then obviously I had to use the super cute bear stickers. So I used the bear and the paw prints from the Into the Woods sticker pack. This was the regular one. I also have the washi, but I just wanted to start with the regular one. I did also use the happy moment from the kit to document meeting Sarah, and then I put down a steps sticker. I didn't fill it in on camera because obviously I couldn't look and I hadn't thought to record it before. How many steps we actually took that day because of the hike. And then I'm using my Tombow Furunosuke in the soft tip to do this hand lettering. I had found it by that point. Now moving on into Saturday while I journal a little bit. We just packed up, went to Mountain Mile. Then we went to the Buc-ee's. Y'all, the heathen savagery that I witnessed. This is why I don't like going to Buc-ee's. It is like everyone enters the parking lot and loses their mind. First of all, the traffic can usually be like a nightmare because everyone's looking all over the place and not paying attention. Both in cars and out of cars. So that's slightly problematic. Another problem is that inside you've got every child in the whole place, I feel like, is screaming. You've got adults acting like they've never seen fudge and brisket before. And it's just insanity in there. It is lawless. It makes no sense. Everyone's everywhere. And my mother gets sucked up in it as well. So about the time that I really lost what little bit of sanity I had was we're in Buc-ee's and mom decides she wants an icy. I turn my back for 2 seconds, you guys, and I turn around and she is trying to shove the cap on the icy that is overfilled and it's going everywhere. She's sticky. The cup is sticky. The table is sticky. It looks like a 2-year-old was left unattended to build their own icy. I'm losing it because I am so tired at this point. I am so hungry and my patience is shot. And I just want to get home and get food and into my bed. And I am basically 4.5 hours from that at this point. And I am just, oh my God, I am the adult. I am the only adult present for what I feel like is miles in this horrible place. I have Buc-ee's post-traumatic from this trip that did spill over into the Orlando trip, just saying. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely freaking ridiculous. And I lost it. And finally collect mom, get her unstickified, get her in the car, and we left. And then I was also trying to find some beer from Jackalope Brewery, which is sold in grocery stores up there because it is a Tennessee craft beer. Could not find it. Was getting frustrated. I couldn't find it. It's starting to rain. I'm just getting more irritable as the time goes on. And we finally make it home through it all. And then we get the car unloaded, and my mom is acting like she's never been to the Kroger down the street from my house before. And so I let her follow me to that Kroger. Again, like she's never been there before, and she's been in that parking lot 9,000 times to shop at that Tuesday morning before it closed. So bizarre. But yeah, got her there, and then I went across the street to Crumble because they had a yellow cupcake with chocolate frosting cookie, and that's my combo of combos. That's one of my favorite combos ever for a cake, especially if it's warm, and it was, oh my God. And then I went to Provino's and got me some takeout, and I was a heathen. I not only ordered like a main entree, but I sometimes can be a little savage and order like a kid's ravioli or something like in a different sauce, so I kind of get the best of both, which is so bad, but it was so delicious. So I got my favorite order from there, basically my heathen order, brought it home, ate half of it, packed it away for another day, and then because I pretty much had to come back and just kind of get ready for the next week. But yeah, I simmered down and got my butt into bed and just vegetable moded for what little bit was left of the night, which really wasn't much, because by the time we got back and really settled in and I ate dinner, it was like dark by the time I even got her to the Kroger. So that was the whole trip, you guys. So on this page, just for documenting, there's that stencil again from Allie Brown, and then some more of Taylor's gorgeous stickers. But yeah, that was the very full, emotionally, physically, it was a lot. It was a lot. And like I said earlier in the video, I really knew that this trip was going to be really different than my Halloween trip. And I was really glad that they were kind of back to back in a way, because it ended up being like kind of like Disney training in a way. It kind of got my body into shape for having a longer day like that. But it also let me kind of pre-pack. So I never really unpacked from one trip to the other. I just kind of like shifted a couple things, did laundry, and then like at least all of my toiletries and things were already still together, and I just left them that way and used just other stuff to get me through in my stash. As far as this last page goes, I really struggled with what I wanted to do. I ultimately settled on 2 floral stickers from my One Canoe 2 book, and then I used my Tombow Food Nasuke to do some hand lettering and talk about stopping at the coffee shop and then just literally being over my sanity limit in the Buc-ee's. But more or less, the trips were very different from each other. I knew that all along. I do think that it firmly solidified that Mom and I will be doing much shorter trips or very local things, and definitely some lower impact in the future. I think our theme park trips are kind of behind us. The theme park day actually wasn't that bad. And I was really patient outside of the travel days, I think. I really did my best to, understand her limits, but the travel days were definitely the worst of both. Like getting there in a timely manner. Obviously I drive to Orlando when I go, and I'm super efficient with that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video and something different. And I know we've been doing a lot of hauls and stuff recently. So I really hope you guys enjoy a very nice long journal session with loads of different examples in inspo. Please let me know in the comments below if you guys are having an awesome October and what your plans are. I hope you all had great Septembers and are looking forward to fall. I want to hear what your fall plans are as well. And as always, if you guys have any suggestions or questions, let me know in the comments. I am always super happy to take them and add them to the list, or just kind of tweak based off what some of the preferences are, if there are any. But until then, and until the next video, I hope you guys all stay happy and healthy and enjoy fall and create your own happy little wonderlands. Thank you guys so much for all of the support that you give. I cannot tell you how grateful I am, and especially going into this season of gratitude, I'm extra, extra, extra grateful. So thank you again so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.